Hey Jasmine, thanks for your submission. So we're going to be looking at your Macbeth paragraph. How far do you agree Shakespeare presents Macbeth as heroic? And you said that the extract was Act 1, Scene 2, so that's great. So let's get reading. We see, even before Macbeth enters the stage, just how highly the people around him think of him. So straight away, that's a good opening point, but you could also add the significance of how that shows him as heroic. So you might say, even before Macbeth enters the stage, we see how highly people around him think of him due to his heroism or due to his bravery, because it looks like that's what you go on to talk about. And then what you could also do is consider adding the significance of this initial impression as it relates to the play as a whole. So obviously you know that Macbeth is a tragedy, and Macbeth is on something called a fall arc, which basically means he starts in a high position of sort of power and respect, and then through bad choices and corruption becomes worse and worse. Now, since you're doing AQA, obviously this question asks you to look at the extract, but then also the play as a whole. So your paragraph can definitely be about why he's heroic, but then at the beginning, but then it's great to talk about the significance of this initial heroism throughout the rest of the play. So just a little bit more meat on that opening point, basically. The extract above, Act 1, Scene 2, gives us an insight into the perspective of how the Sergeant and Duncan view Macbeth as a courageous warrior. So that's a really nice sort of mini extra intro, I guess you could say. In the Sergeant's monologue, we see him give Macbeth the epithet brave, and this is in line 18. It is good to give line references to the examiners where you can, so that's great. And nice short quote, and you've already added the technique. So this is really really efficient exam writing. Well done. That looks excellent. This alone sets the tone for the rest of the scene, brave being the first adjective we see to describe Macbeth in the entire play. Good, so you've also added in a little bit more terminology here with the adjective. That's great. And I also enjoy the little use of semicolon. That's like, you don't just want to be using commas and full stops. So this elevates your what's called QWC, quality of written communication, to a higher level. So well done on that. This also allows us to infer that Macbeth is a courageous individual who not only pleases the people who surround him, but also will selflessly use his natural aggression and violence for the triumph and victory of his country. Okay, so that's some good extra zooming and a bit more what we would call 801. What I would like to see, though, probably at the end of this, because we're now going into a second quote as we keep going, I'd probably like to see add some context here or a bit more reader response. So there are two types of context, basically. There's what's called reception, so that's how the audience would receive the text, how the Jacobeans would have received the text. And then there's actually context, which is, Jacobean values, the society of the Jacobeans, James I, witchcraft, demonology, Shakespeare, why he wrote this, all that good stuff. We need one of those things after each quote, ideally, because 803 is a very important assessment objective for you in this exam. Through the battle, we also see Macbeth demonstrate this valour and aggression. On line 24, the sergeant recounts Macbeth's brave and courageous acts, where he unseamed MacDonald from the nave to the chops. So that's quite advanced, the fact that you've used square brackets to slightly edit the quote. That's excellent. Well done for that. And let's keep going. The use of imagery conveys the idea that Macbeth is a savage murderer in order for his country to triumph. Sorry, give me a second, Jazz. Okay, getting back to this, the use of imagery conveys the idea that Macbeth is a savage murderer in order for his country to triumph. This first insight into the character of Macbeth allows the audience to perceive Macbeth as a courageous and heroic individual. This sets the tone and themes for the rest of the act, which includes themes such as heroism and bravery. Not only does this give the audience a good first impression of Macbeth, but it also allows them to respond in a positive manner, applauding these admirable qualities that we see Macbeth demonstrate. So, it's good that you've added some clear reader response, but it would be even better to link why they would have responded this way. So the obvious context that you could probably add here are things like the divine right of kings, the chain of being, that sort of thing. Maybe even linking it to the gunpowder plot, because obviously James I was nearly killed in an attempted assassination called the gunpowder plot by this guy called Guy Fawkes, right? So there's a lot more context that you're leaving out of this at the moment. Your analysis of the two quotes is overall quite good. Words like valor and bravery, maybe and courageous, these maybe even create what we could call a semantic field, which might be an even more advanced way of sort of analyzing this initial positive impression. I do think that you've lined up the idea that Macbeth does have savage violence within him, and then you might just sort of show a bit more AO1 knowledge here of how this is the opening of his fall arc. And one of his major fatal flaw is his pride and his toxic ambition, but he also has a really ferocious, violent, I was going to say temperature. Temperament is the word I mean to say. So you could probably add a bit more AO1 in here as well. It's a solid paragraph. I think overall the major things that you need to work on, the single major thing, the biggest thing is AO3. Get more context into your response. That's definitely the most important thing. I think you've done a pretty solid job of AO1 and AO2. So AO1 is your knowledge, AO2 is your analysis. AO2, mostly good. Look for opportunities to add more analysis and more zooming where you can into terminology where you can. But overall, very good paragraph, so well done. And if you want to submit a full essay to me, just feel free to sign up and add that to the portal anytime you want. Thanks.